Have you ever felt like you've been running in place? Like no matter how hard you pray, work, or hope, nothing seems to move in your favor. Maybe you've been waiting for doors to open, opportunities to come, or miracles to happen, and it feels like life has put you on hold. I want you to hear this today. The season of delay is over. God is about to surprise you with his favor. Yes, favor, divine, unexpected, unearned favor that will shift your life in ways you never imagined. Think about the stories in the Bible. Abraham, Joseph, David, Esther. Each one faced a season where the world seemed stacked against them, where doors stayed closed, where setbacks felt endless. Abraham waited decades for a promise. Joseph was betrayed, sold into slavery, and forgotten in prison. David was overlooked, mocked, and hunted. Esther lived in fear for her life. Yet in each story, the moment of breakthrough came suddenly. God's favor didn't just arrive, it surprised them. It was sudden, dramatic, and unmistakable. And what's exciting is that God's favor is not limited to the pages of the Bible. It is alive today, ready to move in your life in ways you may not even see coming. God's favor is not just a concept, it is a powerful force that can completely change the course of your life. When we talk about divine favor, we are speaking of something that goes beyond human effort, beyond luck, and beyond natural circumstances. It is the supernatural intervention of God in your life, working in ways that defy logic and expectation. One of the most powerful aspects of God's favor is that it often comes suddenly, in moments that take you by surprise and shift everything in an instant. It is not something that is always visible as it is being prepared. Sometimes it works quietly behind the scenes, arranging circumstances, opening doors, and positioning people so that when the moment arrives, the impact is unmistakable. This suddenness is what makes God's favor so unique and life-changing. When we look at the stories of the Bible, we see this principle in action repeatedly. Joseph's life is a perfect example. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned, it seemed like everything had gone wrong for him. Yet, in God's timing, favor arrived suddenly. Pharaoh's dream presented a situation that only Joseph could interpret, and within moments, his life transformed completely. He went from being forgotten in a prison cell to being elevated to the second highest position in all of Egypt. This sudden shift was not because of human effort alone, but because God's favor had been at work even when Joseph could not see it. It reminds us that favor often comes in ways that seem impossible from our perspective, but are perfectly orchestrated by God. The suddenness of favor is not limited to biblical times. It is alive and active today. You may have been praying, working hard, and staying faithful for years without seeing tangible results. You may have faced disappointments, setbacks, or delays that made you question whether your breakthrough would ever come. The key is to remain faithful because God's favor does not always reveal itself immediately. It often works behind the scenes, arranging situations, influencing hearts, and preparing opportunities so that when the time is right, it bursts forth in a way that is unmistakable. Just like Joseph, you may not understand the process as it unfolds, but the end result will be a sudden and undeniable manifestation of God's intervention in your life. This sudden favor is also powerful because it often exceeds expectation. It is not limited by what you think is possible or by the natural constraints of your situation. Favor has the ability to open doors that seemed permanently closed, to create opportunities that you could not have imagined, and to bring breakthroughs that exceed what you prayed for. This is why it is so important to remain hopeful, patient, and expectant. When favor arrives suddenly, it does so in a way that leaves no doubt that it is the work of God. It is unmistakable, dramatic, and life-altering. Moreover, sudden favor transforms more than your circumstances. It transforms your perspective and faith. When you experience the unexpected intervention of God, it strengthens your trust in His promises and deepens your understanding of His power. You begin to see that delays are not denials, obstacles are not endings, and waiting is not wasted. Every moment of faithfulness, prayer, and perseverance builds a foundation for the breakthrough that is coming. The sudden arrival of favor confirms that God has been working all along, even when you could not see it. In your life, this means that no matter how long you have waited, no matter how impossible your situation seems, you can hold on to the truth that God's favor is about to surprise you. It is coming suddenly at the perfect time, and in a way that will exceed every expectation. Your faithfulness, prayers, and persistence have not been in vain. God is orchestrating a moment of favor that will lift you, elevate you, and open doors that no one else could open. The suddenness of God's favor is a reminder that He is always at work, even in the unseen, and that when He moves, it is always for your good and for His glory. You must remain expectant because favor does not wait for human understanding. It arrives when God decides it is time, and it comes in ways that surprise, overwhelm, and bless beyond measure. Hold on to hope, stay faithful, and prepare your heart to receive it, because God's favor is about to arrive suddenly in your life, and when it does, it will be unmistakable, unstoppable, and life-changing. Seasons of waiting, challenges, and trials are not periods of wasted time. They are essential preparation for the favor that God is about to release in your life. Many people struggle when their prayers seem unanswered, when doors remain closed, or when progress appears slow. It is easy to feel discouraged, to question God's timing, or to lose faith. But the truth is that God often uses these waiting periods to refine, shape, and prepare you for the extraordinary blessings ahead. Faithful waiting is not passive. It is an active trust in God's plan, a confident assurance that even in the delay, He is working behind the scenes to position you for success. Think about the story of Abraham. He received God's promise that he would become the father of many nations, yet he waited decades before seeing that promise fulfilled. During that waiting period, he faced uncertainty, opposition, and even moments of doubt. But God's timing was perfect. Every year of waiting was not wasted. It was shaping Abraham's character, teaching him patience, and reinforcing his faith. When the promise finally arrived, it came with a weight of divine fulfillment that would not have been possible without the preparation of the waiting period. Your waiting, too, is a time of preparation, a season in which God is strengthening your faith, building your resilience, and equipping you to handle the favor He has planned for you. Preparation often involves more than just personal growth. It includes alignment with God's purpose. During periods of waiting, God may be guiding you to develop the skills, relationships, and understanding necessary to manage the blessings ahead. For example, Joseph's time in prison was not a punishment, but a preparation. It was during that season that he learned humility, patience, and the wisdom to interpret dreams and manage resources. By the time his breakthrough arrived, he was fully equipped to take on a position of immense responsibility, not just for his own benefit, but to save nations from famine. Similarly, your challenges and trials are equipping you to receive favor in a way that is sustainable, responsible, and impactful. Faithful waiting also strengthens your character. It is easy to be grateful, joyful, and patient when life is smooth, but true faith is revealed in the waiting. When you continue to trust God despite delays, when you maintain integrity under pressure, and when you remain obedient even without immediate results, you are cultivating a spirit that can carry the weight of God's favor. Favor is not just about blessings, it is about transformation. God's preparation ensures that when your breakthrough arrives, it will not only change your circumstances, but also elevate your character, perspective, and purpose. During the waiting season, it is vital to stay active in your faith. Continue to pray, continue to serve, continue to sow seeds of kindness and generosity. Every small act of obedience positions you to receive favor when the time comes. Waiting is not about inactivity, it is about faithful persistence. God is always at work, often in ways you cannot see. Just because you do not immediately perceive results does not mean that your efforts are unnoticed. Each moment of patience, prayer, and trust adds to the foundation upon which your breakthrough will be built. It is also important to remember that waiting tests and refines your trust in God. When you face obstacles, setbacks, or unanswered prayers, your faith is being strengthened. This testing is not to discourage you. It is to prepare you for the moment when favor arrives, ensuring that you are ready to receive it with humility, gratitude, and wisdom. The challenges you face today are shaping you for the success, influence, and blessings that tomorrow will bring. Ultimately, faithful waiting requires perspective. You must see your current season not as a delay or denial, but as a crucial chapter in your story of favor. The waiting period is building your resilience, deepening your faith, and teaching you to rely on God's timing rather than your own understanding. Every trial you endure, every moment of patience you practice, And every act of obedience you perform is equipping you for the extraordinary favor that is coming. So do not despair during the waiting. Trust that God's timing is perfect. Embrace the preparation, learn the lessons, and remain faithful. The challenges you face today are molding you for the favor that will arrive at precisely the right moment. When it comes, it will be more powerful than you imagined, and you will be fully equipped to receive it. Your season of preparation is not wasted. It is the very foundation for the greatness that God has prepared for your life. God's favor is not meant to be contained. It is designed to multiply and extend beyond just your personal life. When God blesses someone, often creates a ripple effect that impacts families, communities, workplaces, and even nations. Favor is inherently relational, and its power grows as it touches others. When you experience divine favor, it is not just an isolated blessing. It is part of a larger plan to influence, inspire, and elevate those around you. Understanding this principle changes the way you perceive God's favor. It is not merely a reward or a solution to your own problems. It is a platform to extend God's goodness and bring positive change to others. Consider the life of Joseph. When he rose to power in Egypt, the favor he received was not only for his personal advancement. His position allowed him to save countless lives during the famine, including the lives of his own family. The favor God placed on Joseph multiplied beyond his own needs, impacting entire communities and leaving a lasting legacy. Similarly, when God brings favor into your life, it is rarely confined to just your personal circumstances. Your breakthroughs, promotions, relationships, or financial blessings have the potential to influence many others. Favor, when used correctly, becomes a channel through which God's glory is revealed to the world. Favor multiplies when it is shared. It grows when you use it for a purpose higher than yourself. When you extend kindness, provide opportunities, or support those in need, the blessings in your life expand. Favor is relational because it is often released through connections and interactions. The people God positions around you are not accidental. They are part of the divine orchestration. When you recognize the favor God has given you and use it to bless others, it creates a cycle of influence that multiplies exponentially. A single act of favor can inspire loyalty, build trust, and create opportunities for others, thereby amplifying the impact of God's blessing in your life and theirs. Moreover, favor that multiplies is often sustainable. Blessings that are hoarded, misused, or kept only for personal gain tend to diminish. But when God's favor is extended outward, it grows stronger and becomes a source of enduring influence. Consider Esther, who received favor in the king's court. She could have used her position for personal comfort or security, but instead she extended her influence to save her people. By doing so, the favor she received multiplied and created a legacy of courage, impact, and divine purpose. Likewise, your favor is not fully realized until it begins to impact the lives of others positively. Multiplication of favor also encourages responsibility. When God elevates you, it is a sign that He trusts you to handle greater influence and blessing. Your favor is a responsibility to act wisely, to lead with integrity, and to use your resources for good. Favor that multiplies is not passive. It requires action. It requires discernment, generosity, and a willingness to be a blessing to others. When you use your favor to lift others, you demonstrate that God's blessings are not just about personal success. They are about creating impact and glorifying Him through your life. This principle also teaches gratitude and humility. Recognizing that your favor is meant to be multiplied keeps you grounded. It reminds you that your blessings are not only for your benefit, but also for the benefit of those around you. Favor that multiplies is powerful because it transforms not only your life, but also the lives of others. It inspires hope, creates opportunity, and becomes a testimony of God's goodness. Every act of generosity, encouragement, and service amplifies the favor you have received, extending its reach far beyond what you might initially imagine. In practical terms, you can multiply favor by investing in relationships, mentoring others, sharing resources, or simply being generous with your time, wisdom, and encouragement. When you do this, you align yourself with God's design for favor, and you position yourself to receive even more blessings. God's favor is never meant to be stagnant. It grows and multiplies as it touches the lives of others. Your breakthrough, your promotion, your blessing, it is all a tool for multiplication. The favor God is about to release in your life will not be contained. It will extend to others, creating influence, opportunity, and hope. Recognize that favor multiplies when shared, and embrace the responsibility to use it for God's glory. When you do, your life becomes a conduit of divine impact, and the blessings you receive will resonate far beyond your own story, touching lives in ways you cannot yet imagine. True favor from God is always aligned with His purpose. It is not random, and it is never meant to contradict His plans for your life. Favor that is out of alignment with God's will may seem appealing at first, but it ultimately does not bring lasting fulfillment, peace, or impact. Understanding that favor is purposeful is critical because it ensures that the blessings you receive are sustainable, transformative, and designed to elevate you in the areas God has intended. When favor comes in alignment with God's purpose, it not only advances your life, but also fulfills the destiny He has planned for you. The Bible provides countless examples of favor that is purposeful. Joseph, for instance, experienced God's favor at multiple points in his life, from Potiphar's household to prison and ultimately to Pharaoh's palace. But his favor was not arbitrary. Every step, every opportunity, every challenge was orchestrated to place him in a position where he could fulfill God's greater plan, saving nations from famine. If Joseph had sought favor outside of God's plan or used his influence for personal gain alone, the outcome would have been drastically different. His alignment with God's purpose allowed him to maximize the favor he received and to create a legacy that continues to inspire generations. Favor that aligns with God's purpose also builds character. When God's blessings arrive, they often bring new responsibilities, influence, and opportunities. If you are unprepared or out of alignment, the weight of those blessings can lead to misuse, pride, or distraction. But when your life is aligned with God's will, favor becomes a tool for growth, transformation, and impact. It strengthens your character, teaches wisdom, and helps you navigate challenges with discernment. Alignment ensures that favor produces fruit that is lasting and meaningful, not fleeting or superficial. This principle applies to every area of life: career, relationships, finances, health, and ministry. Favor that is aligned with God's purpose will always uplift, inspire, and serve a higher good. It will not lead to compromise, unethical decisions, or shortcuts that betray your integrity. True favor reinforces the values of honesty, humility, and service. It allows you to walk in confidence, knowing that the door is opening before you are divinely orchestrated, and that the opportunities you receive are meant to advance not only your life, but also God's kingdom. Alignment with God's purpose also requires discernment and spiritual awareness. Not every opportunity, promotion, or blessing that appears favorable is truly from God. Some may be distractions or traps that pull you away from your calling. That is why prayer, reflection, and obedience are critical. When you seek God's guidance and remain attentive to His direction, you position yourself to receive favor that is authentic and purposeful. Favor without alignment may provide temporary gain, but it will not produce lasting transformation or fulfillment. Another key aspect is that purpose-aligned favor empowers others. When God's favor is released in alignment with His plan, it often comes with a platform to serve, bless, and uplift others. Esther's favor in the king's court is a perfect example. She was given influence not merely for her comfort or status, but to save her people from destruction. Her favor was purposeful, and its impact extended far beyond her personal life. Similarly, the favor God releases in your life is intended to create influence and positive change, magnifying His goodness through your actions and decisions. Living in alignment with God's purpose requires patience, humility, and surrender. It requires trusting His timing, following His guidance, and resisting the temptation to chase shortcuts or instant gratification. When you do this, favor becomes more than a blessing. It becomes a tool for transformation. It equips you to fulfill your calling, make wise decisions, and create a legacy that honors God. Your favor will always be most powerful and effective when it aligns with God's purpose. Every opportunity, blessing, and breakthrough that comes your way is designed to advance you in the areas He has destined for you. The favor of God is not random, it is strategic, intentional, and purposeful. When you live in alignment with His will, you will not only experience personal elevation, but also become a vessel of influence, blessing, and transformation in the lives of others. The alignment of favor with God's purpose ensures that your life reflects His glory, achieves His plans, and impacts the world in ways far beyond your imagination. Favor from God is not just about receiving blessings, it is also about positioning yourself to receive them. Preparation, relationships, and gratitude are essential elements that open the door for divine favor in your life. Favor often flows through intentional living, thoughtful actions, and a heart aligned with God's principles. When you prepare yourself spiritually, emotionally, and practically, you create an environment in which God's blessings can manifest fully. Understanding this principle helps you recognize that favor is not random. It responds to a life that is ready and receptive. Preparation is the first key. Favor rarely lands in a life that is unprepared. It is often preceded by periods of growth, learning, and perseverance. God prepares you through challenges, refining your character and equipping you with the wisdom and strength necessary to handle greater responsibility. Just as Joseph's years in slavery and prison prepared him for leadership in Egypt, your current season, however difficult it may feel, is equipping you for the breakthrough that is coming. Preparation may involve developing skills, gaining knowledge, building patience, or deepening your faith. Every step you take to improve yourself, every effort to remain faithful in small tasks, is a building block for the favor that will soon arrive. Relationships are another critical factor in receiving favor. Favor often flows through people who God positions in your life. Mentors, colleagues, friends, and even strangers can become instruments of your breakthrough. The key is to maintain positive, healthy, and respectful relationships. When you treat others with integrity, kindness, and humility, you create a network through which favor can manifest. Conversely, neglecting relationships, harboring bitterness, or being unkind can hinder the flow of blessings. Favor is relational, and the way you interact with people directly influences how and through whom God chooses to bless you. Gratitude is equally powerful in unlocking favor. A heart that acknowledges God's goodness and expresses thankfulness attracts divine attention. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you lack to what you already have, and it positions you to receive more. The Bible repeatedly emphasizes giving thanks in all circumstances, and for good reason. A thankful heart aligns with God's presence and invites His blessings. When you remain grateful even during trials, you demonstrate trust in God's timing and provision, which in turn opens the door for favor to flow into your life. Favor is not just about asking or expecting, it is about appreciating and receiving with a humble heart. These three elements, preparation, relationships, and gratitude, work together to create a fertile environment for favor. Preparation equips you to handle blessings responsibly. Relationships act as channels through which opportunities and resources flow, and gratitude ensures that your heart remains open and aligned with God's will. Ignoring any of these elements can limit the impact and reach of the favor God wants to release. Favor is not just a gift, it is the result of a lifestyle that reflects faithfulness, relational wisdom, and humility. Practical steps to implement this principle include daily spiritual discipline, investing in personal growth, cultivating meaningful connections, and practicing regular gratitude. Prayer, meditation on Scripture, and acts of service prepare your spirit and mindset for God's favor. Actively nurturing relationships, offering support, and showing integrity in all interactions create relational channels through which blessings can flow. Finally, maintaining a grateful heart, even in small ways, signals readiness and openness to receive God's favor. Favor flows to those who are ready, receptive, and aligned with God's principles. It comes to those who prepare diligently, nurture meaningful relationships, and live with a spirit of gratitude. By focusing on these areas, you position yourself for the supernatural blessings that God is preparing for you. Preparation, relationships, and gratitude are not just principles, they are practical ways to cooperate with God's plan and ensure that His favor manifests fully, abundantly, and powerfully in your life. Your life becomes a magnet for divine favor when you cultivate readiness, maintain healthy connections, and embrace a grateful heart. These practices do not guarantee instant results, but they lay the foundation for blessings that are lasting, transformational, and aligned with God's purpose. The favor God wants to release will find you prepared, receptive, and ready to maximize every opportunity He places in your path. Faith is the key that activates God's favor in your life. Without faith, favor may be present, but it remains dormant, waiting for you to recognize it, receive it, and step into it. Faith is more than belief. It is trust in God's unseen hand, confidence in His promises, and expectation that He will act on your behalf, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. It is the inner conviction that God is at work behind the scenes, orchestrating breakthroughs, arranging opportunities, and preparing blessings that will exceed your expectations. Favor often requires faith because it defies human logic, timing, and understanding. When you examine the lives of those who experience sudden, life-changing favor, faith was always present. Joseph trusted God's plan even while imprisoned and betrayed, believing that the circumstances would not have the final word. David believed he would become king despite being overlooked and underestimated. Esther acted in courage and trust, approaching the king to save her people even when fear threatened to paralyze her. Each of these examples illustrates that favor often comes in ways that surprise, and without faith, you might miss it. Faith is the lens through which you see God's favor clearly, even when human eyes see nothing. Faith also requires expectation. Favor does not usually arrive in small increments or in ways that go unnoticed. It often comes suddenly in ways that exceed your imagination. If you are not expecting it, you may not recognize it when it appears. Expectation aligns your heart with God's promises and prepares your spirit to receive the blessings He is releasing. It is this anticipation, rooted in trust and belief, that allows favor to move in your life unhindered. When you speak of God's favor, pray with confidence and anticipate His goodness. You are creating a spiritual environment in which favor can flourish. Prayer is a crucial component of faith. When you communicate with God, expressing your trust and dependence on Him, you strengthen your connection to the source of favor. Prayer is not just about asking for blessings. It is about building a relationship of trust and obedience. It is in this space of consistent communication with God that your faith is strengthened, your vision clarified, and your readiness for favor heightened. Prayers that are persistent, aligned with God's will, and fueled by belief demonstrate faith, and faith activates favor. Faith also inspires action. Receiving God's favor is not always passive. It often requires you to step into opportunities, take risks, and act boldly. Faith propels you forward even when the outcome is uncertain. It gives you courage to pursue your dreams, confidence to embrace new roles, and the resilience to persist in the face of obstacles. Favor and faith work hand in hand. Favor provides the blessing, and faith provides the vehicle through which it is received and maximized. Without action fueled by belief, favor may remain dormant or partially realized. Another essential element of faith is patience. Often God's favor comes after a period of waiting, testing, and preparation. Faith sustains you during these times, reminding you that delays are not denials and that God's timing is perfect. It allows you to continue sowing seeds of effort, prayer, and service even when results are not immediately visible. The strength of your faith determines your ability to endure, trust, and remain expectant until the moment of breakthrough arrives. Finally, faith transforms how you respond to favor once it arrives. When you fully believe in God's provision and trust His timing, you receive blessings with gratitude, humility, and a heart ready to multiply them. Faith ensures that favor does not lead to pride or complacency, but to stewardship, generosity, and continued alignment with God's purposes. It positions you to maximize every opportunity, elevate those around you, and reflect God's glory in all that you do. Your faith is the key to activating God's favor in your life. Trusting Him, expecting the unexpected, praying with confidence, taking action, and remaining patient are all expressions of faith that open the door for divine favor. When you cultivate this level of belief and expectation, you position yourself to receive blessings that exceed your imagination, influence others positively, and fulfill the purpose God has designed for your life. Faith and favor are inseparable. Without faith, favor remains dormant, but with faith, it becomes a life-transforming force that reshapes your destiny.